Welcome to Familiar Territory, an anime podcast hosted by two white dudes who've been friends for over 15 years. Here we talk about the history and influence of anime, as well as review anime new and old. So grab your talking cap and transform into some comfy clothes as we step into a familiar territory. My name is Grant.
And I'm Brantley. Heads up, spoilers on the way. Check the description, see if you're safe to listen. Hello, YouTube! Last week we watched the new original trio of Japanese animation movies, Burn the Witch, created by Studio Colorido and produced by Shueisha, Twin Engine, and Bandai Namco Arts. The question is, did we burn the witch, or did the witch burn we? The answer is the same as the name of a famous Nintendo console. We...
Oh my god, really? Holy shit.
Oh my god, it feels good to dunk on the British.
Oh, except that was a little bit more Australian, but it was still pretty damn good.
Yeah, all y'all English speakers, myself included, get fucked.
Okay. So,
English is a bad language and you should feel bad about it. Grant, let's talk about Burn the Witch.
I went in with a lot of hopes, because I'm a fool. I was kind of excited. I don't like Bleach. Like I'm not knocking those who like it, but I don't like it. I remember one day one of my friends brought me a DVD set. He's like, "Hey, we're gonna watch Bleach today," and I was like, "Okay." And it was like season 1 where Ichigo was wearing like normal clothes before he started wearing stupid clothes. And I'm like, this is... And then I watched Full Metal Alchemist instead. Fuck yeah! It is shonen. And if you're going in expecting it to do anything different than just be another shonen film, then you will be like me. And you'll be disappointed super badly.
Oh, man. The title is slightly misleading.
Yeah, I kind of was hoping a little bit more... witch burning. Maybe not like actually witch burning, but I was hoping for some more hatred towards the witches and it being like, haha, get fucked, I'm a witch.
Yeah, this show is not about witches, it turns out.
No.
This is a show about dragons.
That are fought by witches, but don't worry. Do you think these witches have cool spells and wands and staves and cool hats? No, they got guns.
Little strange, like
not even fun guns.
Yeah, little tiny, like quarter of a French horn guns. They look dumb.
So, Burn the Witch is based off of a one-shot manga written by the guy who did Bleach. And that should have been a big red flag for me. But the animation's
Production's solid.
Production's really solid. Because it's an OVA. It's only 3 episodes. It's only about 60 minutes long. Mm-hmm. So really, it's not like a huge amount of your time. If you're like, should I watch it? And you got like an hour to kill and you want to like not really give a shit about what you do in that hour. Mm-hmm. We watched it with a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't say it was great.
It was kind of like a committee of people trying to dissect it and figure it out.
Yeah, it's like we had a few people who were real big fans of like Bleach itself. We actually had the guy that brought me the Bleach DVD. He was there. You had people that were fans of shonen as a whole, and then you had me and Brantley who hate everything.
Watching this show is kind of like listening to someone from the UK when they're actually using like UK terminology, where they're saying things that just sound like magic fairy words. And you're like, those aren't real words. You're messing with me. And
Except in this case, they are real.
Yeah.
So they're trying to get some backstory because normally when we watch a show that we're like, hey, man, if you want to watch it, you should watch it before you listen to this. You don't need to watch this show. Like, I'm not giving it any endorsements besides maybe an hour to kill time waster.
Mm-hmm. Like, if you like shonen and you just like fun, then yeah, you'll probably enjoy this. But I've got issues with it. Don't walk out of this, I would say, expecting to be like, yeah, can't wait till this gets off the ground. Like, I don't see this having a promising future the way it's currently treating its subject material. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's like so essentially you have a school, maybe? I don't know. They don't really explain it. They're called pipers. That's what the witches are called. They're called pipers. And you're like, oh, so it's like a witch school where they learn magic and fight dragons. But you don't really get to see it too much. And like, I'll give the show the benefit of deciding to be an OVA instead of a full series. Mm-hmm. But even then, I've seen a lot better OVAs, like a better Witch OVA, Little Witch Academia. The original one was able to give you a feel for school life, give you a feel for the magic in the world, and it was 45 minutes. It was significantly shorter than this, and it was able to make you really care about the characters in that short amount of time.
Yep.
So you have your two main characters, Nini Spankle and Noel Nihashi, which makes it sound like people are trying to create British names, and the Japanese didn't know what a British name was.
I don't know about that. I think maybe they're just mixed. But
okay.
Noel
Nahashi is a fine name, but Nini Spankle is bad.
Yeah. That one's a little bit of a reach. Kind of like that'd be like you name an American character like
Jack Freedom.
Yeah, Jack Freedom. Star Spangled Hot Dog, you know?
And the thing is that besides being set in London, this show has very limited London inspiration.
Yeah, and that's something I do want to talk about, but I want to make sure you get all your ideas out first.
I'm just kind of explaining it to people who aren't gonna watch it.
Yeah, please do try to explain the plot of this if you can,
because it's wild. So Nini and Noel are dragon slayers essentially, and there's
Nini and Niha, I think.
Well, her last name is Niha. So she hates being called Niha because Nini calls her Niha.
Call her that.
But she's like, but she wants to be called Noel.
Well, that's very respectful of you, but.
Yes, I will call her Niha because so Nini and Niha are dragon slayers, and here's the thing: there are two Londons, which is too many. Mm-hmm. And there's Front London, which is our London, and then Reverse London, which is their London. And according to the synopsis, the Dragon Slayers are supposed to keep peace in Front London while keeping dragons in check in Reverse London. So essentially, any magic bullshit that happens in Front London is supposed to go to Reverse London. But you don't spend like any time in Front London in the OVA. It basically doesn't matter.
Can you describe to me what Front London and Reverse London are?
I think they're parallel worlds. I'm not sure. Apparently it takes place in the Bleach universe, so maybe if you watch Bleach it would make more sense. But the guys that watched Bleach said it didn't make sense. I don't know if Bleach has like multiverse stuff that happens in it, but it's wild. So they go to they stay in Reverse London like the entire time. And at this point you might as well just make it all Front London. So essentially the tagline for this show, and I saw this like 100 times, and it's such a fucking shonen trope where it's like 72% of all deaths that happen in London are due to dragons. It's kind of like in Boku no Hero where it's like 98% of people born on Earth have quirks. Mm-hmm. Or Naruto, where it's like 100% of these episodes have a flashback episode scene to Naruto swinging.
Yeah.
Basically, Shonen loves percentages, and they love to bring them up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like almost
you gotta
all the
quantify
deaths.
it, you know, like that was only 20% of my total strength, you know. No, I'm going 30%. Thanks, Toguro. Like, okay.
Right, and they wanted to be like dragons are a real threat. So 32% of all deaths are dragons. But like with heart disease being like the number one killer of most people in the world, are the dragons causing heart disease?
Yes.
Yes. So the one cool thing about this show is that instead of brooms, they have little dragons that look like brooms. I give that an A+.
Yeah, that's cool and fun. I like that.
I actually like their outfits. I like the little tartan like capes that they wear. I don't like the lower half of their outfits though, because they're bad.
Yeah, I think we need to like actually finish the plot synopsis and then we can.
Yeah.
This is
okay.
We're opening so
Sorry.
many
You're right.
Baskets.
You're right. There's so many baskets. So, Nini and Noelle are like, oh, we killed some dragons, and they kill some dragons, and then they meet a boy character who I don't remember his name.
His name is Balgo.
What? No, not Balgo. The other one.
Not Blondie.
I thought Balgo was the dark-haired one. See?
No, that's Bruno is the guy at the end.
That's right. So they meet Balgo, and Balgo is basically
Bruno and Balgo and Nini and Niha and Billy Banks Jr.
Oh, what about
if you're a boy, your name starts with B. If you're a girl, your name starts with N.
Wait, what was
non-binary people are yet to be found. Trans people are on the run. Do not let them catch you in reverse London.
So
you cannot be comprehended. Okay.
And well, there's also Macy, right? Isn't Macy like the girl? Yeah, she's the other girl. Anyway, we'll get to her later. So
we've officially canonized that Macy is gender nonconforming. Let's continue.
So Nini and Niha try and slay some dragons, and then a dark dragon comes to reverse London. Now you as the viewer are like, what the hell's a dark dragon? Don't worry, they don't explain it. So they fight a dragon, they cut off its face, and it turns into a dark dragon, and then it's evil.
Yeah, they cut off its face with a stun ball.
Yeah.
They stun ball, and it hits it, and then his face slides off. We were all bothered by that.
Yeah, no one liked it. So they meet, what was his name, Bruno?
Bruno?
Yeah, Bruno. They meet Bruno, and if you've ever seen Ruby, he's kind of like Joan d'Arc, but worse.
Wait,
he's
no. Are you talking about Balgo? Blondie?
I'm talking about Balgo. About Balgo.
I'm so convinced we should just call him Blondie at this point, Greg.
Yeah. So Blondie is basically
no, but Nini's blonde.
Yeah, but we know Nini's
Balgo.
name. So Balgo is basically Joan from Ruby, except infinitely worse. He's a useless punk who doesn't do anything, and he just makes everything worse for the female characters. I literally was unable to figure out what his purpose was in the story, except to be charged with, like, conspiracy to assassinate someone. Like, literally his entire character exists as a plot device to make the female characters get upset.
Yeah, he's a gag.
He's a what?
He's a gag.
He's a gag. He's bad. Like, the first time you see him,
the male main character, he's not as good as the female main characters. Isn't that wanky?
Yeah, it except for the fact that in the end he's like super important and like the most important one.
Well, not technically, because he doesn't do anything still, but it's what they allude to, and I hate it. But let's get there. So they find him trying to capture a very cute dog dragon. So all the dragons in this are just animal with wings, and that's a dragon. And then they are like, "Oh man, we found you." And then the Council of Witches meet, and they all are powerful
and are important, and they have one scene in the entire OVA. And they talk about how the Dark Dragon appeared in Reverse London, and why did that happen? We're about to find out, says the Grand Wizards, but the audience doesn't find out. The only good one is the one named Trombone, and he looks like a gnome. He's the only good elder wizard. One of them is literally a Nazi. Her name is like Sullivan Squire. She has a bunch of Nazi outfits, and the S's in her names are the SS sign from Nazis. Like, it's just straight up a Nazi.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad. So the second episode happens, and you meet Nini's idol friend that she had in real London, who found a dragon and came to Reverse London, and the dragon looks like it's dying. And then Bruno, the other B-boy, who has a dragon himself, is like, I'm going to tell everyone that Balgo is trying to kill everyone, and then Nini and Noelle protect him. And so now they're all fugitives of the law. Now you might think, oh, well, that's why it's Brenda Witch. The law hates them. No, because in like 20 minutes that shit's resolved, because the naked dragon that her friend Macy Balleur brings is actually Cinderella Dragon. All the 7 main MacGuffin dragons are based off fairy tales. And so they fight the Cinderella Dragon, and they defeat it with the power of friendship and Bruno, who has spray paint, which is pretty cool. That part was pretty whack. And then Balgo says, I want to see your panties, and then the show ends with...
No, he doesn't. His dog says it.
His dog says it, but I think his dog reads minds. I think that's the whole thing. It doesn't explain it. And then
that's
so
it. Either way,
I hate it. And so the movie ends with you getting the only upskirt shot in the entire show. And that's Burn the Witch. Like, I wish that I could tell you that there's more to it. And I'm sure if you read the manga or it's based off a manga. I'm sure if you read it, you'd be like, oh no, it's because of this, or it's because of this. It might be better, but the anime's bad, and we're not a manga podcast or an anime podcast, so fuck this anime.
Yeah, I think it's about time we actually review this. I think that might actually be more comprehensive than just trying to walk this through plot beat by plot beat. But we have that out of the way now. So
yeah, it's important.
I'm still bent out of shape on Reverse London. I don't get it in a metaphysical sense.
Yeah.
Because it's is it that there's a portal? Okay, so first episode, Nini makes herself a little portal in the ground and then jumps through it. Is that when she's going to Reverse London while she's being in Front London?
Yeah, because remember, she's an idol in Front London and she's a witch in Reverse London.
Okay. So the dragon has to physically get itself, it has to warp itself through to the other side, right?
Apparently. That's a good guess.
How are they so bad at their jobs? 72% of people?
Like I said, they cause a lot of heart disease. Hold on. I'm gonna do some statistics.
Okay.
London. Death statistics 2020 London. I mean, COVID's gonna, we're gonna do.
But hey, they didn't specify. They just said 72% of deaths. So we have to assume that the dragon's statistics on that are pretty hard set.
So 541,000 people died in England, in 2018. May they all rest in peace. And so the good thing is the mortality rate has dropped significantly since 2002. So they must have been doing good.
Thanks, witches.
Highest number of deaths was in 1999. That's where they sucked.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe we're talking about death statistics on our anime podcast. Essentially, it's just it's heart disease and some accidents.
Mm-hmm.
The usual.
I don't understand what the point is of differentiating that the humans in Front London can't see the dragons. because they can still clearly see the effects of that, certainly. And so it's like, you can reason some of them, like, oh, it's an earthquake, oh, it's a bombing or something, but, like, you look at the Cinderella dragon at the end of the last episode, and the absolute hellfire that it causes, like...
That's in reverse London, though.
I know, but if that was in front London, you don't explain that. Like...
Right.
And this is to assume that this isn't the only worst thing ever that's ever happened. Like... Why? Like, I don't get it. Like, it doesn't feel like they just... I better say it now. I really don't think this show likes any of its ideas. And when I say show, I mean manga, I mean whatever. I don't think that it enjoys or cares about its own ideas.
Yeah.
Like, it never does the same thing twice. Which, like, I get it. They're trying to be unique. And that's the shonen thing, right? It's like, every episode, new person, new power. Every episode, new gimmick, new thing. Cool. But they're doing it so frequently that they don't make a world. Like, did they even want to be in London? Besides the aesthetics? Like, what about this screams like UK to you? Big Ben.
Tartan jackets.
It's all aesthetic. Like, when do they, like... Is there even, like, a point where they stop and, like, eat some British food?
Like, they eat some beans and toast, and they drink some tea? No, there's
some crisps.
There's never a time where we see them kind of, like, take in the London appeal.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see anything to do with... They don't talk about how Brexit's going to happen the next year. They don't talk about leaving the EU.
Like for real, it doesn't feel like this is...
I know very little about British culture.
Me too. We're better for it. Let's not dwell on that too much.
Dude, you're shitting.
All I know is that 72% of London is killed by dragons, and none of that percentage has been the royal family. Fuck this. Moving on.
My original theory about the show is that the naked dragon was actually Queen Elizabeth, but that didn't pan out, and I'm upset that it didn't.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Like, here's the thing, right? Like, I get, like, hey, we want everything to be unique. We want everything to be personal. Yeah. So it's like, okay, Nini and Niha have different weapons. I don't remember what they called them. They're little wand replacements, right? They're horns.
They're guns.
Yeah, they're pipes for piping, right? Because they're pipers, not witches. Yes. Fucking hell. We can't even have that. Like, no, they're not even witches, they're pipers. This show is obsessed with replacing ideas with different words. It's like, here's our lexicon of new things, and it's like, I'm shocked you didn't replace the word dragon at this rate, but okay. And what it boils down to is that they never want to repeat anything. Everything has to be its own unique instance, They're
called witch kits.
Witch kits?
Yeah, which is a stupid name.
For their little weapon things?
Yeah, okay. They're guns. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool, so guns. Here's the thing. I get that's like, hey, they're going to have different guns. Each shows a little bit of their personality. Cool. Each of them has a different dragon. Yes, that makes sense. But, like, nothing else is ever consistent in a way that you can read character out of it. So, for example, what's the difference between a Nini spell and a Niha spell?
The answer? Nothing.
Right, like you start off and Niha uses like a net to capture Nini, right? So you think, okay, Niha is using like protective support spells, and Nini is using like aggressive capture and combat and stuff like that. But then they're fighting the big old clumsy dragon, and Niha stun-balls it in the face, and its head gets sliced in half. Like, that, okay, then we no longer have consistency, And so I can't read any of these individual situations to actually, like, express their character or their motivations. There's a line in the trailer that's like, you do this for money, I do this for merit. Merit for what? Like, merit for whom? Why? Like, who are you trying to impress? You're not trying to impress Balgo, that's for sure. Like,
but don't worry, there is a ranking system that they talk about.
We never like go into it. Yeah, why did you even introduce it yet? Like, just save it.
So I know that Willem said all the magic powers they use are like direct references to Bleach powers. So all of the powers they have are basically Bleach powers. But at least in Bleach, everyone gets a different kind of sword.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like, and that's the same thing, right? Like, but that's the thing. It's like you get your episode and you have that devoted to the character, you know? We spent 3 episodes with these characters, and I can't honestly distinguish how they act differently in terms of their magic ability. I couldn't tell you which one's a better expert. I can't tell you where they specialize. I just know that they work in a team and they both shoot magic spells.
Yep.
Even Bruno doesn't have like a distinct style besides how he aesthetically casts his spells. Like,
yeah, I mean,
he does 2 things, and they're not necessarily like the same thing. So it's like, what?
Yeah, it's like when you are giving a magic system, right?
Mm-hmm.
You need to either go all in on the uniqueness, a la Fairy Tail or a la Naruto, where everyone has different bullshit powers that don't really make sense. So you're like, oh, what's this guy's power? Or like, what does this guy do? You know, everyone's going to do something different. Or you need to go something like, trying to think of a good example that isn't Mistborn. I'm trying to think of an anime, but you need to go something like I'll use Mistborn for here. Mistborn is a novel, not an anime. But all the magic powers in that book are the same. Everyone either has one power or all of them, but there's like 6 powers you have. And so instead of it being like, what unique power do you have? It's how do you utilize them? What is
That's Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah, okay. There's Hunter x Hunter.
I mean, well, you could also say like Avatar.
Oh, that's a good one. That should have been the one I went to because
here's something I wrote down in my notes. Right? Okay. Imagine if Aang only used his air scooter once in the whole show.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense. You'd be like, hey, do you remember when Aang did the air scooter thing? Yeah, he did it. It's cool, and I feel like Shonen has a pretty big problem. Shonen in general has a pretty big problem with that.
Just throw stuff away.
Like when was the last time you saw Sasuke use fireball jutsu?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's like at least Naruto uses shadow clone jutsu basically all the time, but you essentially give someone like a power and then immediately take it away.
Yeah.
And it creates a really boring system. And boy, is Burn the Witch boring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't get a sense for like what it takes to cast a magic spell. Like, it's like, does this require energy? Is there a resource involved? Like, what's the cost? I don't know. Mm-hmm. Apparently, you just get to do whatever because it hasn't been indicated to me that there is any difference. You know, like, yeah, like, to bring it back to Avatar, like, Katara learns the water whip and then uses it once. You know, she gets like 1 episode or 2 episodes where she's using the water whip, and then she never returns to it. You know, that's kind of the situation we have here, where there is no like baseline skill or technique they're relying on. It's just a one and done, and then everything is boring as a result.
Well, and like you can like when Katara uses the water whip, she stops using it not because it's, you know, she forgets that it exists. It's because by the time she gets in another fight, she is now a much more competent bender that everything she does is just a much better version of the water whip.
Right, she's upgraded that technique, right? Like,
it represents her growth. But in Burn the Witch, you don't even see them use the same spell like twice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
when you have a magic system, you have infinite possibilities. And you just make it a different form of lights that get shot out of the gun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, here's another. We're just gonna keep slamming examples. Star Wars.
Hell yeah.
Force.
Star Wars.
They
Force.
stretch the hell out of the Force across the series.
Oh yeah.
But like it generally feels the same because it comes down to like for the early stretch, like push and pull, right? You know, it's sort of like a gravitational power of some sort. Eventually that goes off the rails and I stop liking that so much, but like there is still a semblance of like unity in it somewhere. I feel like this show invalidates its world building because it doesn't. The only moves are signature moves, but there is no repetition or like thread between them, so you don't get any satisfaction in that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that it's. And not only do you not get repetition, the fights are boring. The effects are great, and some of the flight scenes, not flight with an L, are really good. You see some really good hair animations and some really good facial expressions and some really good movement. But then it fights, and it's this colored laser versus this colored laser versus a dragon. I can't. The one time that I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, is when Bruno does his little like. When he like freaks out and then the top of the building, you know,
he does like
explodes.
Goku crater. Yeah,
I was like, that's cool because it's something different, and you know, at that point I thought, oh, maybe he's like a physical mage, maybe he like hones in his. You know what's a fucking great example, and I already mentioned it, but I didn't mention it in this. Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah,
you have a bunch of different people who are using the same magic system to do different things, and it's wildly inconsistent. Sometimes they say the thing before they use it, sometimes they don't, sometimes they need a glyph, sometimes they don't, sometimes they... And, like, if they even made it seem like it's a semblance of, like, oh, glyphs make magic do this. The witch kits do this. But it doesn't matter how you cast your spells. It's just going to be the same fucking spell. Wow, yeah. It's horribly... boring.
You know, in the last episode when Billy Banks Jr. fires a laser out the window to kill the Cinderella dragon?
Yeah.
And you know how someone later goes up to the window and sees that there's been a hole that's been covered up with a little magic cube?
Yeah.
Isn't that the dumbest thing?
It's so fucking
like,
it's super weird.
It's a very transparent magic cube that's just hovering in space there. Like, is it a concentration spell? Like, what? Like, why did you use a magic cube when you just literally could plug it up with something else and it would probably be less noticeable?
Yeah, it's or maybe open a fucking window. Like, I know that the vantage point he had had no windows open, but if he spent like the entire... So Billy Banks Jr. is a janitor or I don't know what he is.
He's got the aesthetic of that, but I think it's it's just a front. I don't know.
Yeah. He basically works at the school and he's super powerful. Oh, it says he's a Piper's chief, so people know he's powerful, but like... It's really interesting because you're like, oh, does he do anything? Nah, he kills the main baddie with a sniper shot, and that's it.
Also, why didn't he do that earlier?
Well, because they had to put the dragon in the prison. I rolled my eyes. It doesn't make sense.
What did they call that? What did they call that big diamond shield they put around themselves to try to hide themselves? Like a blanket or something?
Like oh, fuck. Yeah,
they gave it a specific name, and then they just immediately got found anyways by Bruno.
Yeah, they try and do...
If they can't hide from Bruno in reverse London, who are they hiding from? The dragon? Because was it hiding them from that dragon, but not Bruno's dragon? Like, I don't know.
It's really weird because they give all their spells and all the shit they do names, and like... We talked about this. They just name everything weird, but since they don't reuse things, it's just like if I was like, I have a pen, it's a what'll do, and then I never use a pen again. But I don't explain to you what it does. It's like, all right, it's called a barrier tarp or something like that. That's what it says on the wiki.
Great.
Yeah, it's a bad show.
And I get it. Like, oh, just wait. In the series, they're gonna expand on this stuff, and then that's where it'll get reused, guys.
Oh no, it's just called Cloth. Sorry,
Cloth. That's what it was.
Cloth.
A cloth. Yep.
Yeah.
Ugh. I don't buy it.
Oh.
Like, I don't buy that they're actually going to have the patience to make these ideas more consistent. I think that this is just how it works. This is just how they're convinced it's going to go. It's just like you use an idea and then you scrap it. You know, it's the kind of people who are like, you can't keep saying such and such character said. It's like, it has to be such and such character exclaimed, and this time they whispered, and this time they spoke aloud, and you just say said. No one reads it that closely. No one's gonna be like, they keep saying that word a lot. Like, whatever. You just love your own work enough to do it consistently, to give it that bottom line. I don't know, man.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, gosh. This show doesn't love itself.
You know what the show reminds me of? Danny Phantom.
Young Danny Phantom. He was just 14.
And he names all his attacks, and then they never get used again.
That's not how the theme song goes, Grant.
I'm not singing the fucking theme song. I'm not giving Butch Hartman the fucking satisfaction. Hashtag fuck Butch Hartman.
I just remembered bitch Hartman.
What? Bitch Hartman?
Yeah. Oh my god. See, it doesn't take that much to entertain us. Come on, burn the witch.
Yeah, it's and like, here's the thing. If it was bad, like, just like not good, but the fight scenes were exciting and like hype, I would have been like, hell yeah, sweet, cool, I'm down for that. I like Symphogear, and Symphogear is problematic and bad, but I love it because it's hype as shit. But this show's problematic, bad, and not hype, so there's nothing going for it.
Like, I legitimately forgot Nini and Niha's names, and like,
oh, me too. I had to look them up.
That is totally my rhyming scheme. Like, I love doing dumb stuff like that. And I just totally forgot it. One of them's an English name. Like, she's clearly supposed to be like English native, like UK native.
Yeah.
Here's gonna be the real test, right? If they go to dub this, are they gonna use English voice actors and actresses?
Oh, I hope they do British accents. Yeah. Holy shit.
Yep.
I hope they do British accents.
Hey, Funimation, hire me.
Yeah.
I can do an Australian accent instead.
Yeah, just
I'll oscillate between Australian and bad.
And just give a little like a one-line sentence to one of like the side characters and be like, "Isn't that guy a prisoner?" I'm coming for you too, Australia. None of the other imperialistic countries that come from British are gonna be safe. Fuck America.
Fuck colonialism.
Anyway, yeah, even after like Wish Upon the Pleiades or
I'll take mediocre in a lot of cases. Yeah, like, I will.
This is the least excited I've been to talk about a show. And like Decadence and like we've had a pretty good track record these past couple episodes. Like Decadence, Revu Starlight, Wish Upon the Pleiades. They've all been pretty good. And I've been excited to talk about them. I've been thinking about them. Even Yuki Yuna, I wanted to talk about. I would take Yuki Yuna over this show any goddamn day.
Uh-oh. Ooh. Is now a good time maybe to talk about the problematic elements and why you can't deny that there are problematic elements? Because I think there's going to be deniers out there for this.
I want to profess some things before we get in this. I'm not saying that if a show has problematic elements, it's inherently a bad show or you're not allowed to like it. I think like you can call out your shows that you like for having problematic elements and still enjoy them. Sometimes shows are products of their time And, it's kind of like a cop-out to say things like that, but it's hard to view things in a historical lens. It requires you to be like, yeah, people were kind of shitty back then.
Yeah, you're up against a hegemony, like...
Yeah. Yeah, and so, like I said, I love some gear. Does it sexualize the shit out of underage characters? Yeah. Is there some weird nudity scenes? Sure. Did I watch all of it? Of course. But I won't defend it for having that stuff. It could have been a much better show without it.
Mm-hmm.
Even Flip Flappers, which I really love, me and Brantley were talking about it, has some problematic elements that I totally forgot about because I haven't seen it all the way through. And I was like, yeah, you're right, that's pretty bad. But I still love the show. So, like, if we talk shit about problematic elements, we are just bringing attention to the issue in the animation industry. And it doesn't necessarily mean the show is bad.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, if the show is bad and also has problematic elements, then it fucking sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good summary. I think I agree on all that. So yeah, where do you want to start with this?
Let's start with Bolto, the dog that didn't deliver medicine. No,
yeah,
Balgo.
it said he had dragon wings and he made inappropriate comments to a teenage girl.
So I've tried to look up the ages of the character. The only character that has an official age on the wiki is Niha, and she's 17. So this could be a college area, and Nini says that I'm your senior to Niha, and I've known people who were in college when they were 17. That being said, you still have some weird shit. So the first time you see Bakugo is when he's being dragged by the dog that's a dragon, and it's like, I want to see Niha's panties. That's literally it. And when we heard that, we were like, what the fuck is this shit?
It sounded like it was wrong. Like, it sounded like something accidentally got clipped into the audio master.
Yeah, and we spent this entire time wondering if it was the dog or if it was the guy. And they chased down the dog, and like the characters' outfits aren't great, and it's not like they are atrocious, but Nini has short shorts and suspenders, and honestly, it would look pretty good, but her short shorts are cut on the sides all the way to the waistband,
mm-hmm.
and it looks horrible.
They're
looks
butt
terrible.
Huggers. Yeah,
they're definitely butt huggers.
It's a weird case. You know what? I'll save this, but I do want to talk about the delineation of fashion and objectification in the context in between that. So continue with your explanation. I'm
just gonna name some other problematic things. It's really weird because despite the fact that Nini and Niha are incredibly competent, the show loves to focus on the male characters. Balgo gets a ton of screen times. Bruno is this incredible antagonist, and none of the characters stand any chance against him. And even the final shot done to kill the dragon is by Billy Banks Jr.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird because when you are trying to create a female lead, it's all right to not have them be powerful. You can have them not be good. But when every other character that's showing them up is male, it's kind of this is a little awkward.
Mm-hmm.
And it really did seem like they were trying to push Balgo to be the main character. Even, I don't know if he is, but Niha and Nini get almost zero character development. They just are there to protect Balgo and whatever Balgo wants. You have some weird Nazi shit that I talked about earlier. And I know that Japan in anime has a weird thing for Nazi, I don't want to say Nazi aesthetic. They love that German military look. I mean, you have entire shows with it. I know Attack on Titan has Nazi shit. I know the Saga of Tanya the Evil is based off of it, and I know even Italia is all about the Axis powers.
They say it's getting a remake / continuation or something.
Italia?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea what Italia is. I
Stay
remember it being
far
popular.
away.
I remember it being very popular in the early 2000s, and I looked it up and I'm like, this sounds like shit, and then I never watched it.
Yeah, stay away, far away from it.
And it's not like it's the most offensive show I've seen. And I would say that for the most part, it's fine. There's a lot of butt frame shots where it's like, here comes Ninny, here's her ass. And like I said, the only panty shot in the entire show is at the very end. And while that sucks, they could have easily done it all the goddamn time. But it's still annoying because the show doesn't even have the decency to do that well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you wanted to talk about something, Brantley?
Yeah, I think there's... If we were to have a dialogue with someone I hated, they would say something along the lines of, Brantley, I'm a figment of your imagination, and I'm here to tell you that it's okay because the quantity of these problematic elements is not high. Because there's only one panty shot, and it's really quick, and it's not even like there's a lot of detail. So, like, why are you getting all upset about it? And here's the reason. Because they buckled to it. Because basically since the start of the show, we're basically sitting on our hands thinking like, all right, how are they going to approach this? And there's things that start making us wonder. And we start pointing it out. We say, uh-oh, did you see that butt shot that they gave for Ninny? You see there was a particular way they drew her legs and her butt where it was like very pronounced. And everyone's like, what? No. Like, I didn't see it. And we're just kind of like, like we know where this stuff comes out of. Like we catch it. They can't slip it by us. And so what's happening is they're being deceptive about it, right? It's like, oh, we made a like a panty joke to one of the lead characters. It's just a gag, and it's like like it's just you feel it.
That was very Tucker of you, by the way.
We are twins. But
that joke's not funny if you don't know us. So
hey, it's okay. If you don't know us, you probably don't think any of this is funny anyways. Okay. God. So, you think like, well, you want to mitigate these elements because it's like, oh, it's a one-time thing, but we could detect it. Like, there's an air to how they're treating it that's clearly not going to pan out. And what do you know? It's like there at the end of the show, there's the panty shot. And everyone's like, oh, okay, I guess you were right. It's like, of course we were, because we caught this. Because the whole time, the air of handling the characters' outfits and certain gags like this, it was not speaking any other message than this exists, and here it is. It's stealth fan service, and I hate it. I almost hate it worse than just direct fan service.
Go big or go home.
Because
that's what they say.
Because there is that element of like ambiguity, and you can try to write it off. It's like, oh no, like it's just same thing happens with like when people draw characters with like overly tight stockings on or shorts with a very significant thigh gap, or like like the shorts are tight or whatever. They're like, what? They try to pretend like why are you well, maybe you're the one who's objectifying it because you're looking at it. It's like, no, man, like this is a fictional piece of content and someone had to put the work in to make it like that. Like, they're not stupid. As someone who's ace, and it's not that I'm impervious to this stuff or ignorant of it. In fact, it's the opposite. I'm very aware of it. I feel. And so, like, also someone who's an artist, I can tell you when someone decides to make a curvature, like a contour difference between Ninny's butt and her leg, that was intentional. you know, and the shorts that they put her in allow for that. You know, if they didn't want that kind of shot, they wouldn't give her those kinds of shorts, because then they could get away with less detail. If you can draw the shorts in such a way where the legs are fairly distinct from, you know, the hips, then like that just makes it easier. It's like a Hanna-Barbera collar and cufflinks kind of thing, right? But no, they went the harder route because that's what they want to slip in. It's a soft version of the same old, you know, perverse shit. And here's why it really bothers me, is because then things get put into question which shouldn't have to be. So, you know, like, for example, Niha has a large chest. I am sorry to Niha that her character has to be perceived as, like, sexualized because of that, when in reality it just happens. Like, just people have large busts sometimes, and I honestly wanted to believe that that's what they were gonna go for, is they just weren't gonna touch that, you know? Like, it's like, alright, I know they're gonna do the panties thing, they're going to, but maybe they'll leave the bust alone and she'll just be a character with a large chest. Like, I have seen people in my, like, online spaces who say, like, I wish there were more characters with large chests because I have a large chest and it makes it difficult for me to cosplay. You know, like, in a way it's a burden. And it's like, just for the love of God, be cool, right? Because you have a demographic of people who would love to just have someone like that, and to not go and touch that. You know, just let it be their human shape. But no, they still have to call attention to it, and they have to sexualize her and oh my god! Oh no! I just remembered.
Yeah.
Do you remember the part where the guy has to do some kind of tongue test on, like, a thing because he saw a dragon? And he has to get down on his knees and he has to put his tongue up to the device that's aligned with Niha's crotch, and he's blushing and he's looking up at her.
Yeah, shit's weird. I just remembered that.
And
that's fucking
and we and like, we're like, no. And I remember, like, you know, nothing against the people who didn't see it, but there was this pushback of, like, no, I don't see how that's sexual. And oh my god, like, it was blatant. But that's the problem, because there's deniability in it. Because you could say it's not explicitly a sexual act. Neither of them are revealing sexual organs. Neither of them are revealing secondary sexual characteristics. But the innuendo is so strongly there, and that's still a teenage character. And it's like, and no, that's not a consensual situation either. Like, it's bad.
That's so
bad.
No, I forgot about that.
Bad.
Because, and like, you didn't need to do a tongue test. It's so
exactly.
weird. Why make it a tongue test?
That exists for the sexual joke, and that's all.
Yeah.
It's so far removed from logic and reality that it has to be for that. There is no other reason. Yeah. Oh my god. And here's the, like, they have the part where Niha's, like, got a drink or something and she's sitting it on her chest. Like, I wish that could just be a normal thing. Because, like, I've known people who, like, you know, like, they'll casually, like, put their phone in, like, their bra strap or something like that. You know, or like, they'll use their chest to prop something up as they're sitting down somewhere. Like, I do that if I'm at the right angle. So it's like, I hate that, you know, majority women are not able to do regular life things because majority men, important correction, cis men, will find ways to sexualize their existence.
Yep, I think it's interesting because, like, it shows a non-sexual way to make kind of like a funny, like, look at people's lives without it being a sexualization.
Mm-hmm.
You can, and it's not making fun of anything. It's not making a comment about her body. It's just kind of like a thing, and it could be well done if the rest of the show gave you the benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, if the show didn't have any other weird sexual jokes, it would have just been like, haha, that's funny, and that's it. But they didn't do it because the show sucks.
Yeah, and the problem isn't either that sexual nature is bad. You know, like, I know I've already admitted I'm ace, but like that doesn't mean I hate people who want sex, like, you know, or think about sex, or, you know,
And
whatever. You know, kinksters, do your thing, but for the love of God, you have to do so appropriately and under control. Like, the things that they're doing in this show represents that the creators are doing the opposite. They're exhibiting control of the situation to slip in these hints, these little titillations and things like that, because they know how this works and they know how to get a rise out of people. It's manipulative.
And I think that exists in the problem as the medium as a whole, specifically shonen anime. I've gotten into lots of friendly debates with my friends about shonen's problem with sexualization of characters. And like Brantley, I have no problem with characters being sexy. I just have problems with people making that either A, their entire character, or B, doing it to clearly underage kids. I think that they're, you know, Cowboy Bebop's a really good example of having a female character who is attractive. Faye's
awesome.
Really well
yeah.
She's great, and she is depicted as sexy at times, but it's not her character, and no one gives her shit for it. Spike is sexy.
Yeah.
like he's handsome. He is shown as being handsome. He is shown as being a very attractive by a lot of people. And they do it well. Burn the Witch does not.
Yeah.
And a lot of shonen doesn't. I think, you know, I saw a meme on Reddit today about Goku looking at Bulma's panties. And like, I understand that they wanted to paint Goku as innocent, and that you could be like, and this is Dragon Ball, not Dragon Ball Z. And when they talk about like how she didn't have, she says, "Oh, your balls are missing." And when I was a teenager, like 14, I thought that show was hilarious. And you know, I was in the age demographic that Dragon Ball was for. But there's this kind of like, as you get older, you're like, well, that's wildly inappropriate. And like, I don't know how else you could do that, but there's plenty of ways. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of ways you can write that same joke without him actually slapping Bulma's crotch. And I think shonen has a problem with, they can have a fairly good idea or a fairly solid plot and a fairly good character designs, but for some reason they always have to include weirdly sexual parts of characters. I think Soul Eater is a very good example of this. In the manga, there is so much weird ass sexualization of every single character. I read the manga before I watched the anime, and I stopped reading the manga because it was bad. But in the manga, there's panty shots after panty shots of every character. There's boob grabs, there's all this stuff. And then the anime, which is animated by Bones, they toned it down heavily. And I think it made it better. But I feel like for shonen and to do well in Shonen Jump, or to do well in a lot of things, they feel the need to push their manga like that to appeal to that horny demographic. And I think it makes good stories bad. And even though Burn the Witch is not the most atrocious example of this, it really doesn't help.
I mean, look at, like, and by the way, like, all this extends to American media too. Like look at how many, you know, you Google the name of a female American cartoon character, and I swear to God, roll like you know, past the original page cutoff, and you're gonna find like a pornographic image of that character. Like, it is obvious that you're gonna develop your, you know, your sexual drive around that age. That's when you're becoming a parent of these things. And so what do you have to attach to? Well, cartoons and people. And so if cartoons are implicated in that, then yeah, you're going to transform that. But I think the problem is when the adults give in. Is when they say, well, this is what the kids want, and so let's go ahead and basically give them pornography.
I think it's
not healthy.
It's interesting. No, it's not, and that's not to say that exploring sexuality isn't healthy, right. But I think like the difference between like American cartoons is that you don't see panty shots in American cartoons. You don't see boob grabs in American cartoons geared towards teenagers or children. Mm-hmm. But damn, in the shonen genre of anime, that shit is incredibly common. And what's weird is when you watch shows that aren't shonen and they're seinen?
Seinen is for an older demographic. Right. Shoujo would be for younger girls. Josei would be for older women.
But it's interesting because as you get into the older demographic, you are less likely to see that shit. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
and I
obviously you have like it's sort of a valley where you right. know it starts to depend more on the subdemographics where it's like clearly you're going to have ecchi and
right,
you know, hentai and stuff like that.
But like if you watch a seinen action show, there's a large chance that it's going to have very little fan service.
Mm-hmm. Right. Whereas shonen, it feels like you can be in practically any kind of subgenre, you know, but it will inevitably find its way to some amount of fan service. Maybe even the outbound example might be like sports shows are pretty minimal on
right. That. Well, I don't know. Watching those haiku boys do well in sports definitely makes my heart feel something. Motivation. That's what it says.
Good back out there.
That was the joke. It was a misdirection. It's comedy 101.
Mm-hmm, yeah. And so like I guess what we're trying to say is so we're not here for that xenophobic shit of like, well, the Japanese are depraved. They just this is their only way they can get that. It's like, no, fuck off with that.
We're here for that anti-capitalist shit.
Exactly.
Where it's sexualization of minors to appeal to a larger demographic to sell more shit. That's the shit we hate. And I think Americans have a different way of doing it, but it's here. I mean, mm-hmm. I watched all of Degrassi The Next Class because it's trash and I love trash. But the amount of times where they talk about sexually active 14 and 15-year-olds is a lot. And that's not to say that that talking about that isn't important, because it's like, hey, some kids do that. And while it might not be the best for all of them, it's not the say of everybody, but it's like, you don't need to make that a plot line. Mm-hmm. And they do. There's a lot of over-sexualization of actual actors in Degrassi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they are being depicted as teenagers, you know, even if they're older.
And American, well, I guess Degrassi's Canadian, but the Western media.
North America.
And it focuses more on live actors and being put into, I mean, there's like nudity, not like hard nudity, but like soft nudity and that shit. That's very uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And of course they're like, oh, but the actress is 18. And it's like, well, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. What are you trying to perceive her as?
Right. And and anime does it too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and essentially
the voice
it's the same problem.
Are all adults, but what are they being depicted as? What do they want you to perceive this character as?
It's the same problem. And Burn the Witch, which we haven't really talked about too much, but I kind of expected this to happen. Mm-hmm. I feel like Burn the Witch is just an example, one of the best examples of how it's so easy to just fuck up shonen, and it has all of the tropes that makes a bad shonen bad. Mm-hmm. It has a lot of the stuff that like and like even like Naruto, which is fairly low on fan service comparatively, still has a lot of weird shit that it likes to pull as gags.
Yeah, like the sexy jutsu stuff is like, get that out of there.
Yeah. Same with like Boku no Hero has like
Boku no Hero is another stealthy one. That one bothers me.
Yep,
and
it's
I want
very
to keep
stealthy.
this brief, but like it's in that realm where the characters get punished for it, so it's okay. No. Oh
No,
man,
it's
don't get me started on it.
I won't.
Yeah. Man.
And so I think the problem with Burn the Witch and why I hate it so much is not only is it just a symptom of the terrible tropes of shonen, it's just not fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's smart enough to game the shonen system, and it's smart in that aspect. They know what they're doing. But then it's they forgot to make it satisfying. So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I do wanna give Studio what was their name?
Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado. Sorry, I remember it sounding like Colorado, but it's not. I do want to give Studio Colorado some props here. They're a pretty small company, it looks like. They don't do much. They did 2 movies in 2020. They did A Whisker Away and Burn the Witch. And then they did things like Penguin Highway, Typhoon Naruto, and then 2 shows in 2013 that do not even have wiki pages. They are currently working on a net animation called Pokemon Twilight Wings. They did a good job.
Oh, yeah.
The art style for the show is very good. In terms of like animation, the lines on the characters are very soft compared to a lot of shows. So there's a lot of nice, like the movements are fluid. The hair is fun. There's a scene where they're flying next to a window and it's really neat. It was only 60 minutes, which is good, but they did a solid job at translating some boring shit into some pretty good looking scenes. So I would check out, probably, I haven't seen it, but I feel like if you wanted to watch something by them that isn't Burn the Witch, I'm sure that their Pokemon net animation would be fun.
Yeah, people love it. A lot of people will point to it and say it's gorgeous. And I think it gives you more of the Galar region. So hey, if you want that UK aesthetic, but you also want more substance to it, then go check that out. It's got I think it focuses on the different gym leaders and they're like more daily lives and stuff. And Pokemon fans, I think, tend to be very vulnerable to that sort of like, oh, it's in the world, you know?
Wow. Yeah, Pokemon has a good slice of life. It can have a good slice of life aspect, so it works with that. And like the voice actresses for Burn the Witch were good. They had a lot of emotion. I mean, like I said, the show has a lot to it. It never delivers on literally anything. The character designs, while fun for a little bit, are just basically cardboard cutouts for whatever they need the plot to be. The dragons, the most interesting fight in that entire show, I think, is the first one where they fight the deer dragon. Because you get to see all the different magics. You almost get a semblance of some sort of like spell, like preferences, but of course that doesn't pan out. There is a weird part when they're fighting the deer dragon where it's like, don't cast spells or your flowers will bloom. Like, we're supposed to know that. And it kind of makes me think that they wanted to make dragons more like Pokemon, where you're like, oh, this type of dragon does this type of dragon does that. But like everything else, it just doesn't delve into it at all.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just kind of surface level. It's a rock skipping across the surface very efficiently. But you get it all the way to the other shore, and you're like, wow, that was kind of unsatisfying as a result. You know what? Here's a reference that'll date the video. I heard someone went and tried out Wigan kebab. They described it as being very bland and extremely heavy, like knock you out kind of heavy.
What the fuck is Wigan kebab?
It's some kind of British food. There's a video of a guy going in to order. He's going into a restaurant, like a fast food type of place, to order something called a Wigan kebab. And of course, me being an American and following American people were like, "What the fuck is that?" And it's just like a minute and a half of these like of the guy who's working the restaurant fryers and the guy who comes in asking to get a wing and kebab, essentially exchanging what is supposed to be like what the wing and kebab is, like describing it and like and whatever, and they're just using like nonsense words. Like I can't divine what they're trying to say. The 4 words I know that everyone keeps repeating are smack, barm, pay, wet. That might not be the correct pronunciation, but I literally can't forget those words because they're everywhere. And that's literally how unknown this is. I swear to God, it's just like a fried sandwich of some sort. That's all it is. But like, it's so far divorced from the English language that I know that it's just kind of impressive. Anyways, someone in my internet circle had tried that and said, yeah, it's bland, but boy, it'll knock you the fuck out, because it's just dense. And so I think that's what Burn the Witch is kind of like.
Yeah.
Wow, this was a bad tangent. I'm sorry.
No. It makes a lot of sense. It was a terrible tangent, and it went almost nowhere, except the conclusion makes a lot of sense. It is dense. There's so much information thrown at you. But none of it makes sense, and like
none of it matters.
No, it fucking doesn't. Their spell names don't matter, and like, you know how in like Sailor Moon it'll be like, oh, it's Moon Tiara power, or it's Burning Mandala, or it's Venus Love Me Chain. You're like, you know that spell, you know what that shit does. Earth Shaking is the best goddamn spell in that show. No, actually, it's Dead Scream by Sailor Pluto. See, we're a magical girl podcast. Yeah. But like, all of them are repeated, and they all do things. And then when they finally do a new move, you're like, oh, fuck, shit got real. But none of the moves matter in this show. They just do the thing that needs to be done, and that's it. Why did Stun Bomb cut the dragon's face off?
Why not shoot more stun balls? Like, why not just, like, oh no, the dragon's on the run. Hit it with more slicing balls. Like, what? Sorry. It's bollocks.
Dude, there needed to be more wanker and knob talk in this fucking show. Yeah. I will not forgive them for not using any of the British
You're right,
lingo.
They didn't translate it into like British lingo, really. It's just kind of a straight English translation. Like an American translation.
I understand that like it's hard to be like, how are we gonna say wanker in Japanese? But you could have done it somehow. Or at least
the subtitles.
Panty and Stocking. Yeah. Well, like Panty and Stocking would just say fuck. You know, they wouldn't be like, oh, it's Japanese for shit or it's Japanese for fuck. It was just shit, fuck. It's like, okay, there you go. But yeah. So Brantley, do you have any hypotheticals for this show?
I do, but I have just like more things I want to talk about.
Go for it, dude.
Okay.
I'm.
Let's to sort of cap
call
off
me a witch because I'm burnt.
To actually like wrap up the review part of this, what did you think about the climax?
Were they okay? So, you know what? We didn't talk much about this dragon, and that's really important. Oh boy! So the dragon that Nini's idol friend had
Macy.
was like one of the like big powerful dragons, and it like blows up a bunch of buildings, and it has a really beautiful transformation animation where it reveals its full power. And then Nini and Niha put it in a prison and then gets sniped. It could have been really cool. I would have loved to see some more flight fighting and more chases and more like actually fighting a dragon. If the dragon was flying, if the dragon was casting spells, if the dragon just sits on a building and gets dead. The climax got me real hyped, and then I was left with like nothing.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It's like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You're like, hell yeah, I want to eat this peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and you eat the entire thing, and you're like, oh
yeah,
I'm done with it.
I want to say maybe it's like it has like the one good element of Burn the Witch. Like I should say the one like the one agreeably good part, which is like Macy's relationship to her dragon, I think does have like some thematic weight to it.
Oh, it's so cool.
Because it's like a parallel to her relationship with Nini, right? So It starts off as just like this innocent care, right? She sees this younger creature. I'm assuming Macy's older. And she kind of takes to it. She wants to take care of it, right? As that bond is growing, like the relationship is kind of starved and unhealthy. Macy is sort of overly committed to Ninny, who's distant, and so the relationship is sort of it hasn't bloomed yet. And so here we have the dragon without feathers, or it's kind of like bare skin. But eventually it hits this self-actualization, right? The dragon, after doing all this protecting and everything of Macy, as Ninny is attacking it and stuff, eventually goes off to essentially wreak havoc, seemingly on Macy's behalf, or otherwise is just kind of finally fed up. And I feel like that would be normally a great thematic representation of Macy sort of growing out of her sort of naive interest in Ninny, despite Ninny not returning the favor. But that doesn't happen, because then they undercut that, and Macy still is just like way overly committed to Ninny, and then like now she's like a part of their crew, and like Macy's kind of treated as a gag. And it's just like, why?
It's quick. They do not let emotions exist in this show. There's a fairly dramatic scene where Cinderella, the dragon that she has, comes out from being invisible, and there's like a freak out, and you're like, oh, wow. And then there's a joke. Yeah. And you're like, okay, never mind.
Yeah, it's just too on the nose or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
I do have a question. So in that climax, Balgo gets a sword. Did he do anything with it? Or did he just kind of get it and they moved on?
Huh. I don't remember. That was just like the wet fart of the climax. I forgot that he got a sword.
Yeah, he just and they're sitting there and he just goes, huh, and just like a sword comes out. And they're like, what the fuck? And then literally they never touch it again.
They're like, that's one of the important like relics. Whoa, why do you have that?
He doesn't even show it later at the end, where there's a good amount of him. They don't even talk to him about it.
Yeah, shit's wild. It's so. I'm actually, I have it up in my playlist because I want to see if they do it. And it's one of those things where it really feels like they wanted this to be a full season, a series, more than 3 episodes. But like I said, you can do short anime with good shit. You can do like the. Like Little Witch Academia, like it got a full series, but even before it didn't get a full series, that entire 45-minute OVA, about Akko, about Susie, about Lotte, about Diana, about the witch world, and that's all you need. That's it. And then they're like, oh, we can do more with this, and then they do,
and like,
and it's good.
It picked its battles. It's not like here is Susie and you're going to love her and she's going to be on screen all the time. Like. It's like Susie and Lotte are there as supporting characters, Diana and Ursula are supporting characters, but they come in and essentially swing one after another to essentially share the spotlight with Akko, and so they get away with that, and it works well. Here, it feels like there's just this awkward, like tug of war triangle in between Ninny and Niha and Balgo, as to like who's the most important, and then Macy comes in and starts pulling on that, and then Bruno comes in and starts pulling on that, and all this time you have like literally a dozen other supporting characters who have been dropped in and not touched properly, and then it ends.
Yeah, so here's the entire thing about the sword. Are you ready? Are you fucking ready? So I just watched it. I just watched the climax again while you were talking. Because I have some. Oh, I do want to talk about a cool part of that. A cool part about the fucking ending. Sure. But it's not as important. So he goes. He's talking to his dog dragon, which, by the way, I love the dog dragon. It looks so stupid and cute. I love it so much. His name is Osushi, and he's great. Except apparently he can read minds, and he expresses the main boy's character, Balgo,
Embargo.
That's his name. Embargo. He announces that he wants to see Niha's panties. So he goes, let's stay put, Osushi. And then his horn that he was given turns into a sword. He goes, what's this thing? And then Niha and Nini go, we'd like to know that ourselves. No, seriously, what the hell's with that sword? And then nothing else about the sword.
Oh, man.
Nothing. Literally nothing. And then Bruno with his, I forgot, Bruno has, so this is the one thing that I did like about this. So Bruno casts spells by painting glyphs with spray paint. And so he has this mask. He has like a filter mask that, that you wear when you spray paint to keep, the fumes. And it's a skull mask. And when he talks, the skull mask goes up and down. That shit's cool. It's really good character design for something so simple. I like it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the sword has no purpose.
Yep, great. Here's an extension of that. What would happen if they removed Balgo? I want you to think of like the web of the show, right? And how characters are connected.
Mm-hmm.
If you remove Balgo, then you kind of you don't need the dog, right? And the dog is a major gag component with Niha. Why is Niha getting dragged into things? Because Balgo's getting in trouble. That's how, that's a large part of how Niha and Nini are kind of getting pulled around and whatnot. Well, you don't need Bruno because Balgo's not being made a target of, and so Bruno doesn't get involved. Okay, so we remove Bruno. He doesn't really need to be here. He doesn't have anything to do with Cinderella and the climax. He just ends up there. You don't need Niha, because Niha is just kind of a foil to Nini, but otherwise it's just kind of like Balgo's foil. And Nini already has Macy as her foil, and so she doesn't really need Niha. So we take Niha out. So like we have like 3 characters that we could just remove, and fundamentally the plot wouldn't change at all if you just crunched it down to Nini, the paparazzi, Macy, and Billy Banks Jr. in like that order of frequency. Then you get the exact same plot beats, but it's way more focused on Nini's image problems, and you get a stronger emotional core for Macy's issues to pay off with, because they're not getting dragged away by other characters like Balgo's sword scene, which is just there to distract you.
Mm-hmm.
You could do this show with half the characters in the main cast, and fundamentally nothing would change except you get a tighter concept.
Yeah, so I have some more shit to talk about. Yeah, no, Balgo sucks. Balgo exists because you can't write shonen without a male character.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, I get it. It's like a thing to be like, oh, he's the useless main character, but he's clearly not going to be. I was almost led to believe that he would just stay useless, but I hate that too. It's just as bad.
So here's a fun little thing. So this is something I noticed while watching the last season part of the show. So Balgo has a necklace that has a little... It's basically a collar that has a chain that you get for being a dragonclad, which is someone that can see dragons and are part of the thing. So they get a little like collar, and apparently I'm looking to see if this is true. Apparently Balgo's shirt says slave on it. And so he has basically a slave collar that indicates that he's tied to a dragon, and he's tied to the dog dragon, essentially. Mm-hmm. Also, the dog is the one that is telling Balgo's mind to see the panties. That has been confirmed by the wiki. So once Balgo becomes part of the thing, they put on the collar to basically say, all right, you're chained to this dragon, mm-hmm. right? And at the end, Macy has the same collar. How are you supposed to fucking pick that up? I mean, it's very blatant, like, you're very much like, whoa! It, like, shows it, and it, like, shines it, and it's really weird, and it kind of reminds me of, How Not to Summon a Demon Lord, where it's like, oh, you should be proud of your, collar. It's gross. But yeah, apparently that's a thing, and I didn't notice that, so that's a fun little fact to look at when you rewatch this entire show. I know you're not going to. Balgo sucks. This show's bad.
Let's talk about more fun things, shall we?
Okay. Yeah, cool. Let's do it.
So we know what reverse London's like. I mean, we can at least... Mm-hmm. We're trying to figure it out.
Okay.
What's reverse North America like?
Okay, so I've never been to Canada or Mexico, so it's going to be a very Americentric view.
You know what? Here, London is a city, right?
Okay, yeah. So,
what's reverse Indianapolis like, Grant?
Oh boy. So we are definitely on an ancient... So, like, here's the thing. Do you want, like, a really cool answer that I would do if I were writing a show about this?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
So we would have Native American lore that would kill people. And it would be all about learning the Native American history of Indiana and how whitewashed it is and how they would fight. We'd have Native American lead characters fight all that shit. I mean, we pushed them out of Indiana a long-ass time ago. But I think that'd be a cool way to kind of... Because, like, the entire thing is it's, like, dragons in London, and then in Bleach it's the... What are the demons in Bleach called?
I don't care.
You don't fucking care. But essentially it's supposed to be like, oh, the monsters that plague your area are the ones that are the ones that, like, lived in your area, or the ones that come from the culture. So I'd love to see some Native American lore, because Native American lore is sick as shit. And it's incredibly unknown, and I would like to see I would like to see that explored. Now, talking about as a joke answer, Republicans would be responsible for 72% of the deaths.
Hey, this was supposed to be fictional. Oh man. I just like to think about how North America would be full of cool and fun dragons. You know.
Oh, well, we want to have dragons.
Well, we have dragons. We have American Dragon Jake Long. Listen, we have Spyro, and we have Figment, and and Aragon. He's an American writer, and we have Dragon Tales. So there.
Yeah, Dragon Tales.
Actually,
Dragon Tales kicks
Dragon
ass.
Tales is, according to Wikipedia, Canadian, American, Spanish, Irish.
Hell yeah, fucking get that multicultural representation on one of the fucking tightest children's shows out there. I love that shit.
I wish with all my heart to end Burn the Witch with a wet fart.
Oh my god.
I have one more question for you if you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay, so we all know that Prince Philip and Queen Elizabeth are in a race to the coffin, right?
Yeah, 100%. He dies first.
They're practically dead walking, right? But
they are absolutely siphoning off the energy of some sort of magic spell.
Mm-hmm. So here's the real question: which of them is gonna be done in by a dragon first, and how?
I still believe that Queen Elizabeth is a dragon, and she, as sure as hell, ain't gonna die before her son. So she is going to kill her son, who is not a dragon.
Oh my god, I love that. Is it gonna be like in a death throw?
Oh yeah, it's gonna be in human form. It's going to be a suplex, and his neck is just gonna snap. Oh man.
Oh my god. Is she gonna say anything cool when it happens?
She's gonna say, "Long live the queen."
Yeah, that's the right answer. I like to think that the queen is gonna get picked up into the maw of a dragon, but as she's being picked up and carried away, the tail is gonna wrap around and just and nail Prince Philip in the head and just kill him instantly. And so he'll technically be the first to die.
So I did some research on American Dragon Jake because you mentioned it. Mae Whitman was Rose and Dante Bosco was Jake. So all those people that were upset that Zuko and Katara didn't get together, there you go. It's there.
There's your Zutara.
There it is. It's a completely different show.
Go do your American Dragon Jake Long rewatch and then be like, wow, they went through an art change. Holy shit.
They did. Okay. Let's not. Damn, we have talked so little about Burn the Witch in this episode.
To ignore Burn the Witch Challenge 2020.
I remember being
We've
so
talked
hyped for
about this show longer than that show went on. I think that's worth something. We literally could have fucking acted out the entire show, and it would have been shorter than this goddamn episode. We didn't talk for 4 or 5 hours about Yuki Yuna, so Burn the Witch fans,
Yuki Yuna, we talked.
Be thankful.
Yeah. All right. So.
Oh man.
Do you have any other finishing thoughts about Burn the Witch?
I think we're done. Well, tune in next time. We're gonna watch Gibiate, and then you can come on back around and see the results of our ultimate suffering, I guess.
Okay. Thank you so much for listening to us shit on this anime. It's kind of refreshing because we had good show, mediocre show, good show, and it's nice to just kind of
unload,
talk shit. Yeah. If you enjoyed this episode, please check out our other episodes.
If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Fuck, I lost the British accent. Oh man,
get fucked.
Hold on, hello YouTube. There it is. Hello YouTube. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel so we can pay for our flats. To receive notifications whenever we upload our videos, make sure you hit the bell and leave a comment down below.
You gotta finish it.
That's it, it's over.
All down.
Goodbye, YouTube. This is the end.
We are not your dads. Ugh.